Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into the 9th Winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, time to bring you yet another winter update, and we're up to update number 9 now. 9 out of 13. Can you believe that? So we are getting close now to the business end of this year's winter update. So I'm going to go with the 9th winter update for you in a moment. We'll start off with a solar special. The first sort of section of the video will be dedicated to solar cycle 25, and you'll see the key analogues for this solar cycle, or this part of the solar cycle as well. So that coming up in a moment. Just to say that the first period was our 6 AM upload, and we'll be live streaming at 8 PM tomorrow, discussing this winter update. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about it, and that'll be coming at 8 PM. Right, at the very end of the video, it's going to be a little bit of surprise as well. So I'm not saying anything about that until we get to the very end of it, but there will be a little bit of surprise coming up there. Thank you so much to Richard for the gift, the amazing Richard Short for the wonderful GavsWeatherVids winter updates gift. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much to Shryan as well for all the help on the update, and also thank you so much to Terry. So when we get to the sections that Richard, Shryan, and also Terry Scholey have helped us with, then I will, of course, give them a mention. Thank you so much to Team Gav for all the help on this epic 9th winter update. I think with that said, we better crack on because we've got a lot to show. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And the first thing we're going to start off with is our solar tracker. No, we're not. First thing we're going to start off with... what am I on about? First thing we're going to start off with is the Swingo, of course. So you're going to see the swingometer now after 8 updates. This is how the swingometer is looking. In terms of weather, we're favouring a milder or a colder than average winter. So let's count it down. 3, 2, 1. And there it is. There it is. Wow, 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 wow. No! Yes, after 8 winter updates, we are favouring a milder than average winter by 52% to 48%. That is a very, very slight 1% swing from cold to mild after last week's update. So after 8 updates, we are favouring a mild average winter by 52 to 48%. And that's how we're looking with our swingometer as of update, the end of update number 8. You'll find out at the beginning of next week's update how the swingometer is looking after this 9th winter update. So that'll be the first thing you'll see next week. Thank you so much to Richard, the King of Swing. Thank you so much to our King of Swing for this swingometer. Thank you so much, my friend. Right, so let's begin then, having a look at solar activity. So this is our solar disk is looking on our side of the disk today. From solarham.net, we have got a few sunspot regions. However, solar activity is at low levels and is expected to remain at low levels for the next 3 days, according to solarham.net. This is the GavsWeatherVids solar special extended solar activity tracker from Shryan. So this is showing how solar activity is looking on a day-by-day basis, going right way back to the beginning of the solar cycle on the first day of January 2020. And the orange line and orange spots depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So you can see, of course, back in 2020, we was firmly in solar minimum. Our first sort of mini spike in activity came late in 2020, just there, and then things dropped back again through 2021. Late 2021, things start picking up, and as we go to 2022, things have really started to accelerate. We have a pretty big spike there at the beginning of 2022. Our biggest spike so far, this cycle happens in May, 2022, although back in the latter part of the summer, actually back in September, we did get quite close to that. Since then, solar activity has actually been trending downwards a little bit. You can see the orange spots and orange line sort of dropping down to that sort of level over the past few days, which has been enough to lower the 30-day average. That's the green line just there. You see how that spikes up in September and October. That has fallen backwards. Of course, we are progressing to show maximum, but it's not a linear process. We will get spikes up, and they'll drop down, then we'll get a bigger spike, and they'll drop down, then get a bigger spike again, and drop down, and so on in that sort of fashion. The current spot is just there, so actually it's beginning to tick back up again, I think, from the low level that we went down to earlier on in October. But clearly you can see that we are accelerating through solar cycle number 25. Now, who am I today? Wow. Here's Gav. Oh, we've got a spooky Halloween special. For Richard here's turned me into Jack and it's frozen me. Goodness gracious me, I look a little bit under the weather there, don't I? Look a little bit, not very well, I don't think. I'm a bit frozen. Right, that's what I'm going to be like this winter, I bet. Not being able to put the fire and that on because of these dreadful heating costs. That's literally going to be me in February in the tower. Rich has had a premonition of Gav in the towers in February. Right, anyway, thank you, Rich. Let's have a look at this then. So this is current spot. This spot days, and I'm going to get myself under control. The current spotly stretch. So the current spotly stretch is actually a 0 day, because of course we had a sunspot yesterday. For this year so far, 2022, we have had just 1 day. I'm so sorry, buddy, but we have just 1 day. That's less than 1% of the year without sunspots. So just 1 day this year didn't have any sunspots. Otherwise, the rest of the days this year have all had sunspots. That's comparable to 2020, which had 67% of the year without sunspots. And of course, 2021 has 64 days without sunspots. I'm struggling to read that a little bit with my dodgy eyesight, but I think that's right. So 2020, of course, 2020 was a low level of activity, but it picks up a little bit in 2021, and it picks up a bit more in 2022. Our solar minimum year was 2019. Just there, which had 77% of the year without sunspots. Our comparable year to the last solar cycle is 2011, just here. That had 2 days without any sunspots. But I think this year is going to beat that. I think this year is going to have just that 1 day without sunspots. So I don't think we're going to go to the 2 days without sunspots that we had in 2011 now. Thank you so much, Rich, for turning me into Jack. And showing everybody what I'm going to be looking like in February when I can't keep the fire on in the towers. Thanks, Rich. Right, got a little bit more from Shryan. So this is how solar cycle 25 is looking compared to solar cycle 24, the last solar cycle. So, of course, the orange line and spots and the red trend line is solar cycle 24, and the blue line and spots at the end is solar cycle 25, the current solar cycle. This is updated up to September. You can see that blue spot just there. That is September's total sunspot number. So you can see that this is lifting up, of course. That's solar minimum for solar cycle 24, solar cycle 25 just there. You can see that, yes, we are trending upwards very much with this solar cycle. September just fell just a little bit short of May. Actually, October, I think, will be lower, though. October will probably be down there somewhere. It's all very comparable to what happened in the last solar cycle reel, but having a slightly quicker lift up. So the last solar cycle 24 was a slow lift up, whereas this one is a little bit more vertical. So it has lifted up slightly quicker with this solar cycle. We're around where we was in 2011, so around this period just here, this phase just here. In 2011, we had a big spike up late at the end of the year. That spike just there was like the first maximum of solar cycle 24. It happened at the end of 2011. Whether we will get a spike up like that, this solar cycle, I have to wait to see. Of course, 2012 then dropped things back to quite a low level through much of 2012 into 2013 before we get our second maximum that occurs at the end of 2013 and into 2014. So all looking rather comparable to this point in last solar cycle, if a little bit more active this year in terms of the lift up. This is how solar cycle 25 is looking compared to all other solar cycles. Again, Shrine updated this. So the black line is 2020. What I'm talking about, solar cycle 25 so far. The green line there, that is solar cycle 24, the last solar cycle. So we're a little bit more active than the last solar cycle. We're slightly ahead of it. There isn't much in it, though. We are down at the weaker end of the range, you will notice. We're in that sort of end range. We're not with the delta minimum solar cycles, which are the ones down here, 5 and 6. We're not down with those, but we are at the weaker end of the range. You see, most of the other solar cycles by this point are up here for activity. So I reckon it's going to be a weak solar cycle, but it may be a little bit more active, I think, now than 24. So it'll be somewhere within the weaker end of range, but perhaps a little bit more active than solar cycle number 24. This is how it looks compared to all of the weak solar cycles. So this, we've got 2 delta minimums, we've got 5 and 6 just there. And then we've got 12, 14, 16, and the last solar cycle, no, 24. Of course, the black line is solar cycle 25. So you can see that we're like with solar cycle 14. Actually, we're bang on solar cycle 14, a little bit ahead of solar cycle 24. That's a green line, and bang on solar cycle 14. We are slightly behind solar cycles number 16. And also solar cycle number 12, those two just there were slightly behind those. So we're well within the weaker end of the range, even if we are a little bit more active than solar cycle number 24. Rich sent this through. Thank you, Rich, sending this through. This is showing me solar cycle progression. You can see that we're ahead of the forecast a little bit. So the red line is like the predicted values for solar cycle number 25 for the current solar cycle, reaching a maximum there somewhere around 2025. The black line spots indicate this solar cycle on a monthly basis. You see how we are running ahead, a little, not much in, there's not that much in, but we are running a bit ahead of the predicted prediction for this solar cycle. We're certainly not any sort of talk about grand solar minimum and all of that, and you know, ice ages and all of that. We're a long way from all of that. So it's a weak solar cycle. It's not quite as weak as solar cycle 24, last solar cycle, and we are a little bit ahead of the prediction, probably somewhere close to solar cycle number 14. So this is showing, again, this is from Richard, thanks Rich showing this. This is showing solar cycles 1 to 24. So you see how much weaker the last solar cycle was, number 24, compared to, for example, the cycles before, 23, 22, 21, for example. So I think with this, we're probably going to come out somewhere around there, maybe. I think, you know, with our maximum spike, if you like. So that's the first spike of 24 in 2011. That's the second spike, so 24 in 2014, beginning of 2014. I think we'll probably be a bit ahead of that with the maximum for this solar cycle, perhaps somewhere around there, but I don't think there'll be all that much in it. We won't be greatly ahead of it, and we should be behind these more active solar cycles here. So it will be a weak solar cycle. I think that's for definite now. But perhaps a little bit ahead of the last solar cycle. Right now, Terry has got all of the years together that are where we are currently, you know, in this solar cycle. So these are the key analog years for this phase of the solar cycle. Thank you so much to Terry Scholey for sorting out these years for us. So this for this winter. These are the comparable winters in the past solar cycles back to 1957. The first winter is 1956, 1957, which is a leading solar cycle year and winter, and that is a relatively mild Atlantic-driven winter with low pressure out to west. It does have a cold Christmas though in 1956. We've also got 1957, 1958. There can be an overlap, of course, if like the comparable phase is covering like the middle of the year. Then you have an overlap between two winters as winter like covers one year to another. So the second winter that is a comparable leading solar cycle year is 1957, 1958. This is also a relatively mild-ish winter, but does get colder later. It's certainly colder than 56, 57, with a mid-Atlantic ridge and high pressure, so high pressure out to west, sharp and low pressure to the east, and winds kind of coming in more from a northerly direction. That one gets colder later. It's a late starter, but it does get really cold actually by end of February into March of 58. We've got 67, 68, which Terry's also picked out as a leading solar cycle year. This one with low pressure to our east, high pressure out in the Atlantic. So this is quite a northerly winter. It has a relatively mild December in 67, but then through January and February of 68 there are regular cold snaps coming and going. So that is a little bit of a late starter again. It gets a little bit colder later on. We've got 78, 79, that Terry has picked out for us. This is a genuinely cold winter, of course. This is winter discontent, strong blocking signal up towards Greenland, low pressure to our south, jet stream is pushed southwards down towards Spain as well. That's a very cold winter, and our last sub-zero CET at January. And Terry has picked that out as a leading solar cycle analog year. We've also got 79, 80. This one is a much milder winter, low pressure in off the Atlantic, so that's relatively mild winter. Few cold snaps here and there, but that was a relatively mild winter. Got 89, 90, 1989, 1990. That's a mild and wet winter with low pressure in the Atlantic, and a bit of an Atlantic onslaught, PB of doom type winter really. Exceptionally mild and wet winter start off the 1990s. Terry has also picked out 1998, 1999, which is again relatively mild winter, low pressure to the north, high pressure out to west, winds in westerly direction. That's another zonal Atlantic driven 1990 winter, albeit there's a few cold snaps coming and going. 1999, 2000 is another one of those mild 1990s winters, albeit going into the 2000s. So again, that one is very westerly Atlantic driven. And the last year that Terry has picked out for us is 2011, 2012. No, actually, I think that's a penultimate year. 2011, 2012 is a penultimate year. So this one with lots of low pressure up to the north and high pressure out to our west, and winds are coming in from off the Atlantic. It's a very cold winter for Eastern Europe there. Strong cold winter into the Balkans and southeastern parts of Europe. Severely cold there. For us, it's relatively mild winter. We do get one very cold spell in February. Oh, that was the final year. Okay, that's the last year that Terry picked out for us. So putting all that together, this is how all Decembers combined are looking relatively mild and wet for these Decembers, with our leading solar cycle analog years. Lots of low pressure dominating across northern and Western Europe. All January's combined, a little bit more interesting. Signs of some higher pressure in the Atlantic, trying to get up towards Greenland. Lower pressure is more towards our east. It's not a classic cold analog, but it could deliver a few colder interludes, a few cold snaps could be possible with that. And then all February's combined from our leading analog years, again looking very unsettled, low pressure in off the Atlantic. So the interest is more towards January for cold snap potential. That's not a classic, but December and February looking generally mild and wet. Bear in mind there are exceptions. We have got 1979 in there that Terry has picked out for us, and also 1968 as well. And you know, they do have colder weather in the winters, particularly of course 1979. This out of winters combined are looking from the leading solar cycle years for this part of the solar cycle, and generally it is a mild and wet looking signal for most of these winters, especially the later ones through the 1990s and into the 2000s. And that brings to an end the little solar section. So I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. If that's the kind of thing you like, then we will be doing Solar Sunday in February. I think we'll do a whole video just dedicated to Solar Cycle 25. That will be coming up in February. That's kind of a time frame it's penciled in for. Thank you so much to Shryan, thank you so much to Richard, and thank you so much to Terry, Team Gav, for that little solar special for this 9th winter update. I'll pause the video there, and when we return, we're going to continue with this 9th winter update, looking at sea surface temperature anomaly data. So I shall see you in around 1 second. See you in a moment. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the 9th winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you enjoyed it so far, please like, share, subscribe, thank you so much for doing that. We had our solar special in the first section of this video, so it was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video if you did. Thank you so much, Richard, for the gift. And after a 20-minute opening section, I've got to make sure I get through the rest of this very quickly, so I shall not talk about anything else. We're going to go over to NOAA and have a look at sea surface temperature anomaly data. So we've got our 4 areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region just here, the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. We've got the North Pacific just there. We've got the Indian Ocean over there. We've got the Atlantic Ocean over there. That's how the oceans were looking when we did last week's update. This is the latest, so dealing with the ENSO region. First of all, there hasn't been much change there. Landing continues. This blue area you see is the signature of landing. That continues to look very, very steady. There's barely been any change over the past week. All regions of the ENSO region are reflecting landing and landing goes on. But I don't think it's strengthening much more. Going into the Indian Ocean, we can see very little change over there. It remains cooler through here and warmer through there. That's a negative IOD signature continuing. Some development in the Northern Pacific. Let's go back to here. That's how the Northern Pacific was looking last week, and particularly focusing on the Northeastern Pacific through there. Now look at the latest. We are beginning to see a little bit of cooling. Look at that. A little bit of cooling beginning to appear in the Northeastern Pacific. We've been waiting to see signs of that, but there will be a response in the Northern Pacific in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies cooling down in response to La Nina. And yeah, there we go. We are seeing a little bit of cooling going on in that Northeastern Pacific. Let's wait and see where that goes. Will things begin to cool down in that region? I wonder. Moving into the Atlantic Ocean, again, that's how the Atlantic was looking last week. We established last week that we've got the warmest Atlantic Ocean in terms of the Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, anyway, that we ever had in October, and no years back, 1985 was warm as that. You know, so very, very warm Atlantic Ocean. That's how things are looking this week. So a little cooling has taken place around the Azores, but otherwise, generally, the warm Atlantic goes on. Most areas are looking significantly warmer than normal in the Atlantic. This is the 7-day change in terms of the ocean. So in the ENSO region, all looking rather steady, to be honest. In the Indian Ocean, beginning to warm a little bit through there, maybe cool slightly through there. That will start to, if that carried on, that will start to bring to an end the negative IOD. Definite cooling in this northeastern Pacific of this northeastern region of the Pacific Ocean. So definite cooling through there. And that's the cooling that occurred around the Azores. But you can see that south of that into tropical Atlantic, warming is continuing, and it is around there as well. So I think at the moment this is the area to focus on. This northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Is that going to start getting colder in response to La Nina? That is what we're expecting to happen. Right, this is the CFSB2 latest forecast for ENSO, just confirming that CFS is forecasting week 2 moderate, borderline moderate, La Nina conditions to continue through to the end of the year, and then probably lifting things back up closer to normal as we get into the spring, as you expect, return to ENSO neutral. This is the Southern Oscillation Index from Bureau of Meteorology. Index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, not driving anything its own terms, measuring air pressures between Tahiti and Darwin, and then coming up with an overall SOI, Southern Oscillation Index number. You see it's positive, positive, positive all the way. So 29th of October comes out plus 19, 28th of October comes out plus 33, 27th of October comes out plus 21, etc, etc. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmosphere is reflective of La Nina. We've got the atmosphere and the ocean, both depicting La Nina, both reflective of La Nina, and well and truly coupled with one another. The red line shows that the positive SOI is very, very stable at this point. Indian Ocean dipole forecast looking quite interesting. So this was updated earlier on in the month on the 22nd of October. So this is probabilities for the Indian Ocean dipole. You know, we've got a negative iodine at the moment. That looks like it's coming to an end though, and we're going to return to neutral. So in November, we've got an 18% probability that the IOD will remain negative, but an 81% probability of going to neutral. So it does look as though November we'll see the end of this strongly negative IOD, and we will go to neutral. That continues into December as well, as the percentages for the below average for cold IOD reduce, and we have very strong percentages for a neutral IOD. Doesn't look like we're going to get an above average of warm IOD though, not until sort of late winter anyway, at the very earliest. So it looks like this winter is going to be like a neutral IOD winter after a strongly negative IOD summer to autumn. Related to the oceans is the Atlantic hurricane season. Of course, these are the latest scores on the doors from the Wikipedia page. So we look like this. We have had a total of 13 depressions this season, 11 tropical storms, 5 hurricanes, and 2 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. They up scores on the doors. This is how ACE is currently looking, updated by our ACE Master Shrine. Thank you, Shrine, for updating this. ACE is depicting a seasonal value, you know, for accumulated cyclone energy. Talking about each individual storm, how much energy it's giving out, and then coming out to an overall seasonal value, classified as below normal, near normal, above average, and hyperactive. So we can go all the way back to the 1800s with this, but we aren't interested in that. We come down to the recent year, which is, of course, 2022, just there. So ACE is currently standing at 84.10, 84.10 is how ACE is currently looking, accumulated cyclone energy. At this point in the season, 29th of October, you expect to be at 114.80. So, although we are classified as near normal, we are on the below average side of normal. We've had 11 tropical storms, we would have expected to have 13. We've had 5 hurricanes, we would have expected to have 7. And we have had 2 major hurricanes, we would have expected to have 3. So we are at the weaker end of near normal. When we do our analogues for hurricane activity, I would imagine we'll be looking out for years that are at the weaker end of near normal, because obviously within near normal there's going to be a lot of years to choose from, so I would think we'll be looking at years that are at the weaker end of sort of near normal category. Right, quick pause, and when we come back we're going to look at some QBO data, AO data, etc, etc, etc. Lots more still to come. I'll see you in 1 second. Okay, we're back. We're going to resume the 9th winter 2022-2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much to Shrine for the updating the ACE page. Thank you so much to our ACE Master Shrine for updating our ACE page. Well done, my friend. Right, let's persevere then. We're going to have a look next at QBO. So just to confirm, Western QBO continues to descend from the stratosphere into the troposphere, and I want to include this because next week we will have the QBO number for October. We'll be able to bring you back from NOAA next week, but yeah, you know, very much a case at the moment we're in a firm Westerly QBO phase, with that Westerly QBO descending from the stratosphere up there at 10 HPA down to the troposphere, which is the boundary level of the atmosphere. Weather is taking place at 30 to 50 HPA. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast looking like this, very positive at the moment. The black line shows where we've been with the AO, red lines at the end, where GFS ensembles forecasting AO to go. We are strongly positive with the Arctic oscillation right now, and we're going to stay strongly positive through into the first half of November with the AO as well. At the same time, the NAO is in a strongly positive phase, or is in a positive phase. I mean, not strongly positive, but it is in a positive phase. That's where we currently are. GFS ensembles forecasting NAO to stay positive as well. Again, both these indexes just reflect the atmospheric state, and when they're in positive phase like that, it is a strong signal for zonality. So we can expect, I think, quite a bit of zonality through the first half of November. This our temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA over the North Pole from the JMA. So temperatures not doing anything particularly exciting. The black line shows where we've been and where we are. The temperature at 10 HPA versus the grey line, which is average, or trend line. And you can see that we are about bang on where you would expect to be for the temperature at 10 HPA at this point in the year. We have been throughout most of the season so far. Going a little bit low down to 30 HPA. And there again, we've been running very close to average, maybe a little bit above with the temperature there. So right now, I've had this little tick up with that black line slightly above average. So in terms of stratospheric temperatures, all very, very average, nothing particularly dramatic going on. Remember, when you get a cold stratospheric temperature at 10 and 30 HPA, you will tend to power up the polar vortex at its roots over the North Pole and the Arctic. This is the current temperature forecast for temperatures at 10 HPA over North Pole. We've got these blue curves. That is the polar vortex at its roots over North Pole. Generally around mid-minus 70s, something like that. Low to mid-minus 70s, which as we see on this graph, let's go back 10 HPA. As we see on this graph, that's roughly where we'd expect to be at this time of the year, really. So sorry everybody, with temperatures in the low minus 70 bracket. Right, let's push through. We've seen not much of a deviation going on. Temperatures holding steady in that low minus 70s bracket over the next sort of week or so. And then as we look out into the extended range, again, there's no sign of any particularly dramatic cooling taking place. So all looking very, very steady there, I think. No sign of any particularly dramatic cool down in temperatures at 10 HPA. No sign of any warming either. No sign of any sudden stratospheric warmings or minor warmings even. Just looking very, very steady and about where you'd expect the temperature to be at 10 HPA over the North Pole at this time of the year. We are, though, potentially facing a little bit of a powering up of zonal winds. This is from the ECMWS. You see that the zonal wind is currently about average at the moment, but as we go into the second week of November, we might power it up to quite a strong level, actually. And again, combined with the positive AO-NAO, that would imply a strengthening of zonality and strengthening of the westerlies. That doesn't last for very long, and the zonal wind is then back quite close to average as we go through the second half of November by the look of it. So, been an epic update so far. I hope you've enjoyed it, everybody. I'm not going to pause the video there. We're going to just crack on and have a look at Eurasian snow cover next. So, let's just go back here and start closing down one or two of these tabs. There we go. And we're going to start looking at Eurasian snow cover next. So, we're coming towards the end of this epic video. Thank you so much, everybody. I might put a pause in there, but I think we'll just crack on. Over half an hour. We've still got quite a bit to show. So, let's crack on with our final section. Shall we? Okay, I'll turn the webcam off. Right, Eurasian snow cover next. We've got a surprise coming up at the very end. Eurasian snow cover next then. So, this is how things were looking when we did last week's update. Very much lagging behind. We established that last week. Really lagging behind with Eurasian snow cover last week, and it was one of the lowest years, actually, you know, right way back to not only 1998 but all the way back into the 1960s. It's very, very striking. Let's see what's happened over the past year. Then have we had some gains? Let's have a look. 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 There we go. We have had big gains over the past week in Eurasian snow cover. That's how we look as of up to the 28th of October. And a large increase of snow cover has taken place not only across Russia and Siberia, but also into northern parts of Scandinavia as well. Quite a bit of northern Scandinavia has become covered with snow. So how are we looking compared to past years? Let's start doing the comparison then. So this is how we're looking compared to 2021. And we are still behind 2021. We made some gains, but we're still behind 2021. Right, that's 2020. We are well behind 2020 for snow cover as well. That's 2019. We are well behind 2019. That is 2018. We're a little bit behind 2018 as well, I think. That's 2017, way behind 2017. So although we've made gains, we're still struggling, really. That is 2016. What do you think about that one? I think we might be a little bit ahead of 2016 totality. We're certainly ahead of Scandinavian snow cover, but the areas covered are a little bit different. That's 2015. I think we are behind 2015. That's 2013. Can't show you 2014, unfortunately. That chart wasn't available, so we just skip on from 2015 to... But I think we are behind 2014. That's a very rapid increase in snow cover that year. So we're behind 2014. I can tell you that without having to show you the chart. So we skip on from 2015 to 2013, and we are behind 2013. Now, that's 2012. We are well behind 2012. But 2012 is a very interesting and unusual year in that through most of October we was struggling, and then in the very closing days we get this rapid expansion not only through Russia but right away into Western Europe, actually. So very, very, very strange developments took place in 2012. We are behind 2012 though for snow cover. That's 2011. I think we're ahead of 2011. So we are actually ahead of 1 year at the very least. That's 2010, so we're probably ahead of 2010 in totality, but we're behind for Scandinavian snow cover. But for Russian Siberian snow cover, we're probably ahead of 2010. That's 2009. What do you think about that one? I think we might be quite close to 2009 in totality, but a little bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2008. We're also significantly ahead of 2008, so we've caught up some of these years now. We are doing a lot better after this last week. So we are ahead of 2008. We're ahead of 2007 as well, so that's good. That's 2006. Probably a little bit behind 2006 overall, but not much here. 2005, which I think we're probably a little bit ahead of as well. Let me know in the comments which years you think are closest to everyone. I always find it fascinating to see whether you agree with my interpretation, or whether you think I've missed something. Last week, Ben, lovely Ben Enty, posted, but we're looking quite close to 1980. I hadn't spotted that at all, but there was a lot of truth in that, Ben. You really did have that spotted, so well done, my friend. That's 2004. So what do you think about that? I'm probably quite close in totality, maybe. That's 2003. We are significantly behind 2003. That is 2002. We're behind that one as well. That's 2001. I think we're a little bit behind 2001. We're ahead of the year 2000. Quite clearly, and also we're ahead of 1999. We're definitely doing better here, I think, over this last week, and that's 1998. I think we're a little bit ahead of 1998 as well. Right, okay, keep that in mind, and we'll go even further back. We won't do a year-by-year comparison because it will take too long, but just keep that in mind. And we're going to do a year-by-year comparison, or we're going to have a look at the years, you know, all the way back to 1966. So I should just quickly flip that back, and then we shall start going through them. This is from Rutger Snowlab. Right, so keep that in mind. You've got to tilt your head upside down to kind of make the comparison. So that is where the snow line is. So just think that that's where the snow line is, basically, at the moment. Although it's not there, but it will fill in there very soon, I think. So that's roughly where the snow line is as of the 28th of October. Right, so This is 1997. We're ahead, I think, of 1997 for snow cover. That's 1996. We're probably a little bit behind 1996. That's 1995. We're probably also a little bit behind 1995 as well. 1994, we're probably quite close to that year, maybe even slightly ahead of it. That's 1993, we're behind 1993. We're ahead of 1992. That's 1991, I think we're a little bit ahead of that year as well. 1990, probably quite close to 1990. That's one of the years that I think we are probably pretty close to. 1989, probably a little bit behind 1989, but Snowline is probably in roughly the same position. But notice how it got more across this southern part of Russia. Well ahead of 1998, way ahead of that year. No comparison. Way ahead of 1987. I think we're ahead of 1986 as well, interestingly. 1985, we're probably a little bit ahead of that year too. Certainly in terms of how far west the snow line is. 1984, I think we're a little bit ahead of that year also. Interesting. 1983, we're ahead of 1983. We're behind 1982. Probably very close to 1981, or a little bit ahead of it. Probably a bit ahead of 1980 as well, and a little bit ahead, or probably quite close actually to 1979. Behind 1978, particularly so for Scandinavian and northwestern Russian snow cover. Behind 1977, way behind 1976, no comparison. Ahead of 1975, a little bit ahead. This is interesting. A little bit ahead of 1974 for Russian snow cover, but way behind for Scandinavian snow cover. So make of that what you will. We're behind 1973, considerably so. We're behind 1972. We're behind 1971. Probably quite close to 1970. No data for 1969. I don't know why that year is missing. And then for 1968, we are going to be behind that year, and for 1967 we're going to be very close to it, probably a little bit behind, and 1966 we're also behind that year as well. We're doing a little bit better now after that very slow early to middle part of October. We definitely in the last week made some significant gains, and we have caught up with a lot of those years. We're not ahead of that many of the years, but we have caught up with a lot of them. Right, that's surprise. The last thing I'm going to share with you is this. Terry sent this through to us a few days ago. We got some latest winter 2022-2023 reports from Terry Scholey. I've got to read this, and I'm not very good with scripts, so we'll see how I get on. Thank you so much to Terry Scholey for sending this through. I hope you enjoy this video, everybody. Please like, share, subscribe. We're nearly at the end now, but I just want to share Terry's latest thoughts with you. So, Terry Scholey says, just a few words in mid-October as to what I have found to date in my studies into the possible outcomes of the above winter 2023. The logical conclusion is that with the QBO almost certainly to be in its westerly phase, that it shouldn't be a particularly cold winter. However, these circumstances can produce cold or very cold individual months, with the winter of 78-79 and QBO westerly winter the outstanding oddball. Many years of experience have taught me that there are about 5 important weather cycles that should always be considered in any preparation of a long-range winter prediction. The main one is the approximately 23-year Halley cycle, due again around 2032. So this should apply this year, although lesser Halley cycles do exist within the overall picture. Cycles within cycles. The second is a 7-year cycle, assumed to be connected to the lunar nodal behaviour that seems to affect the timing of changes in the QBO phase. The third is a 31 to 34 year cycle associated with droughts. The current one, I expect, is a repeat of a drought of the early 1920s. An important cycle to consider, particularly early in winter, is the LAO-PDO 60-year cycle, but shows up strongly in very or exceptionally cold Decembers, of which 1890, 1950 and 2010 are prime examples. Of much lesser importance is a 19-year lunar nodal harmonic that can also be associated with droughts and extreme rainfall. When let's do that again. When we both look at these cycles individually, the 7-year cycle seems more important when it coincides with the solar cycle phase. If we mix all the cycles and see when the harmonics are closest together, we come to a figure that at present is close to the 60-year NAO-PDO cycle. Although probably not particularly relevant as mechanisms are different, it's interesting to note that this December is exactly 60 years after the daddy of all winter, 62-63. However, when using this as a forecasting tool, when looking at other hail winters and adding 60 years, we are limited to 1916-1917 hail winter that could have contributed to the cold December and white Christmas of 1976. Another interesting statistic is that the oddball QBO West Winter of 7879 could be associated with the lesser hail harmonic when the single 11 years within, let's try it again. Another interesting statistic is that the oddball QBO West Winter of 7879 could be associated with one of the lesser hail harmonics or the single 11-year solar cycle. February 1956 was particularly cold, as were the winters in the late 1960s. Since then, it's become warmer, but within the records lies the very cold February 1991 and the exceptionally cold March of 2013. 22 years apart. The coming winter of 2022-2023 just happens to be the second harmonic of hail, 23 times 2, when we take 1978-1909 into comparison. While studies are still in progress, as it's only mid-October, there appears to be some bias looking at the above for perhaps a front-loaded winter. Many of the current AO and NAO long-range computer predictions are also suggesting this at the moment. If it were a QBO East, however, I would be more confident of a front-loaded winter, but I suspect this is more likely to occur next rather than in the current year, where the enhancement offered by a more favourable ECQBO will kick in. Finally, it's important to say that these are simply findings at the moment to consider, with things still very much a work in progress at the moment in preparation for winter forecast. So cold weather lovers, don't get too excited. Interesting findings though, all the same. Terry Scholey. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of our 9th Winter 2022-2023 update. Thank you so much to Terry for that. Terry is the long-range weather forecaster's forecaster. What Terry doesn't know about long-range forecasting isn't worth knowing. I wanted to end this live update with those thoughts from Terry. Thank you so much to Terry Scholey for that. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? It's absolutely mind-blowing. Cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. Incredible. Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you so much to Shryan and to Richard as well for all of the help on this video. It's been great. It's been epic. Am I going to keep this under 15 minutes? Just. So I'm going to start the video there. We will be discussing this 9th update tomorrow in our live stream at 8 PM. I know you have a lot of questions about this video, so you can fire away then. But for this epic 9th Winter 2022-2023 update, that is all for now, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.